Hello, everyone. Kim here, Abundant Life Tarot. Um, I haven't been live in a while, so I have no clue how is it looking. And if I have to, I will do a pre-record of this. So I did a reading for Mystery Mystic Monday. And it was involving the slayings of the four University of Idaho students, right? I did a few videos and I've been following the case, just following it. And then the news broke that a suspect had been arrested. Brian, I forgot. We'll just call him Brian K or Brian or BK. Of course, he hasn't been, I guess, officially charged yet. So, everyone is presumed innocent until found guilty in a court of law. I have to say that everything is alleged that we're talking about today. We also are very much responsible stewards of information, right? We are mature folks. We don't go out and start attacking people or disparaging people and whatnot. So my folks over here, we understand that. But I know that there's been a lot of speculation going on with this case, and I don't like to add a bunch of extra noise to it. Thank you. My sister's in the house. Hello, Althea Grace, Soul Whisperer. Hi, if you're here. If you all are joining me, thank you. I appreciate it. This is my baby sis. That's my baby sister. I miss you. Coburger, thank you. I'll write that down. I know he spells it with Bryan. He spells it a little different. Or his name is different. He different. Oh my goodness, he's different. My God. So this case, you all, you know what I like to do is I like to, and hi Althea Grace, I like to revisit the cards because I find that there's teachable moments when we as readers go back and look at how things are kind of playing out and then seeing how the cards have spoke to those situations. Sometimes things will remain a mystery to us, but I wanted to have an important discussion for just a spell before I share my screen and walk through the cards that had come up in the past readings for this case. But one of the things I wanted to talk about that really bothered the hell out of me, and that was that young lady who's on TikTok, Ashley, who was using. I guess she's a true crime sleuth, as well as she fashions herself a tarot reader. And she made serious allegations against a University of Idaho professor. And she doubled down, even when she was receiving cease and desist letters, even when there was literally no evidence. And I don't know what card messages she was interpreting or reading. And I don't normally knock other readers or knock anybody else because we all have gifts, all of us, even those who may not even know they have gifts. You have gifts. But this was beyond disgusting what she was doing. And she makes it that much more difficult for those of us who really take this craft seriously. Oh, yay. This made me laugh. He is different indeed, right? He is a mess. I don't care. I'm going to say it. But she makes a mockery of what we do. We already have an uphill battle to climb against people who don't believe in what we do. They call us heathens. I'm in a chat who was a true crimer, a YouTuber, and he's kind of going in on he don't believe in it. And there's people in the chat saying tarot readers need Jesus. And it already opens us up to scrutiny, especially those of us who are called to do these type of readings, these readings where we are delving into mysterious disappearances, crime, true crime. And so for her to make a mockery of it and not even stop after she got 2 cease and desist letters. That is just ridiculous, and it's deplorable, and it made me angry. And I don't understand. Like, it just, this is a craft that you have to be very respectful of. You cannot take it lightly. You have to humble yourself. You have to be humble when you are doing this work. Even if I wasn't doing true crime, many of the readings I'm doing are along the lines of love readings, career readings, life purpose readings. You still have to humble yourself. You still have to acknowledge when you are maybe mistaken, or maybe you misinterpreted something, or maybe you hurt someone's feelings, or maybe you put somebody's business on Front Street. I mean, she was from what I understood, she was doxing this professor as well. And it's like, that's not a proper stewardship of the work that we do. We want to be examples and show exemplary ways of how you work with the cards. And the reason why I always come back to revisit the cards later after some time has passed and or a major development happens in a case is so my little humble self can learn and grow in tarot. That is one of my mottos. It's one of my little taglines: learn and grow in tarot. And it means to humble yourself and always be an eternal student of this craft. You don't know it all. I don't know it all. And you have to be responsible. It made me so mad. It made me so freaking mad. I was like, young lady, and and she's still holding on to it. And you know what? I don't care if you're right. I don't care if whatever. I don't care if you really like have some inside information that this professor did it. You still have to act in a way that is responsible. Yeah, no bueno. No bueno. We already have, as readers, as healers, as psychics, as mediums, a hard enough time. Then you have somebody going on and making a mockery and a joke of things. And it turns me off to doing like readings on TikTok. A lot of people say, oh, you should be on TikTok. There's just a certain element that's on TikTok, and they're here on YouTube too, but there's a certain element of those who do readings and they do not take the craft seriously. And it bothers me. And there's just something about TikTok that just, I don't know, it brings out people. I don't know if she really even understands what she's reading or what she's interpreting. It just, oh God. And she can feel however she wants to. If she ever stumbles on this live, she can feel however she wants towards me. I stand 10 toes down on what I'm saying. That was wrong and disrespectful. And people have to start being called out when they are not acting appropriately. I don't know if she's mentally, challenged or something going on there, that when you get 2 cease and desist letters, that don't register to you. And yeah, anyways, that's right. Learn and grow in tarot. That is my motto. I love to learn with you all together. Yes, I've been doing this a while. Yes, it's my passion. Yes, I know quite a lot about tarot, but I don't know it all. And I learn something new every single day. But that's because I'm humble. Hello, my friend. How are you? Thank you for joining. Thank you. Hey, Happy New Year. Thank you for joining. I went on a tangent. Sorry, it was burning me up. I wanted to go on a tangent last week, but I held it in. Clearly, I'm still upset. Yes, there's been an update. There's been an arrest. Oh my gosh. There's been an arrest. Krista on TK's Tarot Insights. Nino like the TikTok vehicle. And again, I have really talented friends who are into tarot, and they do readings on TikTok, and they're incredible. It's just there's a certain unsavory energy that doesn't rub, it just rubs me the wrong way. I don't know if it's because that company is not based in where I'm from. Like YouTube is in Northern California is his headquarters. I'm from Northern California, so there's this kind of little kinship thing I got going on with YouTube that I don't have with the other social media platforms. But she made it where I really don't want to go on there. I had a client on the hotlines, a regular client for years, and she watches TikTok readers, and they talk a lot about twin flames, and it's not. I don't knock that belief. It's not something I personally ascribe to. I have my own beliefs surrounding love and attraction of love and attaining romantic love, and I don't necessarily. I get what twin flames is about, but she started asking me, well, this TikTok reader said this, and this TikTok reader said that, and what do you think about it? I'm like, you don't really want to know what I think about that. You continue to watch TikTok over here, and then you're paying me to do these readings over here. I'm different. Different. Thank you for agreeing. Yes, we all can learn, and isn't it beautiful that we can, and it's fun. It could have been a totally different conversation for old homegirl on TikTok, Ashley, if she invited people to educate her. When people, her, I don't know what they call them, followers over there, were saying, I think you're wrong, or I think you need to check your information. She doubled down. She didn't, it's like, I don't know about that. I hope the judge makes an example out of her. Responsible and morally disgusting. It really is. And it's going to be interesting to see how this is going to go. She received a defamation suit when I first started in the insurance world when I was 19 years old, many years ago. I started in commercial claims. I went kind of backwards. I ended up starting in commercial claims and then doing personal lines, like for everyday folks. But when I first started, I worked for a big insurance company that insured companies that dealt with these suits like this, defamation suits, and we would settle claims on behalf of, on behalf of companies who find themselves facing that. And I'm well versed. So when you all see when I have disclaimers, when you see when I'm using the word allegedly, when you see that I'm really trying to be cautious and protective of how I say things, even though they're totally my opinion, even though what I'm saying is totally my downloads and my interpretations of the cards, I have a background in civil law and I understand how things can go awry. And it's not fair, and it's not very nice as a human being to do. So I hope they make an example out of her too, so other people can really let it sink in that you have a certain responsibility when you're on social media. Yeah, you can speculate. Speculation is one thing. That's fine. We speculate, we talk, we guess, but do it responsibly. Life is learning. It is, and it's one of the wonderful things about being human, right? We get to learn. And the moment that you know it all, well, then what fun is it? Thank you for the tangent, the good tangent vote of confidence. I try to contain some of my tangents. I try, but you know. So yeah, so that you had a dream. What was your dream about? Yeah. Let me hear your dreams. Let me hear what you had to what came to you. So yeah, we just gonna go through this, and I'm gonna be hopping in, looking at your comments, and then also sharing the screen and talking about some cards that came up in the reading, and then some that I'm still scratching my head about and still, wondering what does this mean? Does it mean anything? Sometimes I always tell you all this when I'm doing these readings, and when I notice other readers and psychics and mediums do these type of readings, sometimes what we're picking up on is not necessarily like predicting like or saying that this is the criminal who's doing this. A lot of times we're picking up on the energies around the situation, including the rumor mill, including a lot of speculation. That's still very real energy going on. But is it really speaking to what happened in the crime? Well, not necessarily, but it's speaking about the whole thing, all of its energy, all of it. I think Auntie K, my girl, says, I think there are twin flames, but not what folks think. Burn hot and heavy over to similar or too toxic, so twin flame lovers don't love my take. Exactly. And so, Auntie K, that is how I interpret it too. If I'm going to ascribe to it, I want to ascribe to what really twin flame energy is about. Oftentimes, the twin flame is reflecting back something inside of you that needs to be healed, and you in turn are reflecting back to that twin flame of what needs to be healed. And oftentimes we are not getting along and falling madly in love with a twin flame, because why? We too much cut from the same cloth, and we fighting like cats and dogs. Or it's almost like, when you have two magnets, sometimes people think that twin flames mean that you guys attach like this and you're instantly together. That's more like soulmate energy. Twin flames is almost like two magnets where they're kind of backed up, and you've got the negative and it's like and you're trying to get close, but you can't. You're trying to push those magnets together, but they're two parts of the same side, so that's the best way I can describe it. But you're right. On the onlines, they ain't trying to hear that. So I just be like, okay, well, that's what you believe. So we'll go with that today's, in this reading. But I want to keep it real with them. Oh, yes. Share what your dream is about. As I want to hear your intuitive hits, whether you're here right now with me in the chat or you're in the comment section later watching the replay. I love hearing your intuitive hits, your takes on things, your interpretations of cards, whether you see my cards and you see something, or you did your own reading, or you had dreams, etc. What do you have to share? And just maybe also some insight. Maybe you know something, or you need to correct something that I've said or somebody else said that or some major rumor going on, and the truth. Share. Yeah. See, you and I, Krista, we have some things in common. I remember us talking about that too, how it's like, it boggles the mind, like when you're listening to civil cases. So, it just, when you know, when you know, and it's like, ooh, I've I've handled cases or claims where it was a school district that had a school district that I actually was in a neighboring city for. So it was kind of really mind blowing. Sexual harassment suits from students against other students, from a teacher. And it's like, none of this I heard about in the news, but it was all happening on a civil level, not criminal. It was two kids against in sexual harassment. It's not necessarily at this time, or back then it was in the 90s when I handled that claim. But it wasn't really treated like a crime. It was treated civilly. They're like the one young lady I'm thinking of, her parents sued the school district, and we insured the school district. So it's just, yeah. So I have also this thing where, when I'm doing my readings, the Mystery Mystic readings, I used to be an investigator and always asking questions. I've interviewed thousands of people in my 20-year career, thousands of people. And so when you see that I have questions and then I throw cards, I'm pulling back from that experience of when I was an adjuster and an investigator. The big, yeah, the big criminals, for sure. Oh yeah, yes. Social responsibility. Let's be better to each other. That's what it boils down to. All that girl on TikTok was doing is just trying to rake in clicks and views. Sometimes my readings are not popular because I'm going to be honest when I'm like, I don't know what this message is coming through. And I'll ask you all, what do you think this is? Or sometimes I'm not seeing the more popular thing like, oh yeah, so-and-so did it, because the cards are saying something else. We had a similar moment in this reading. Yeah, we did. and I'll tell you all about it. Thank you. Thank you for my great analogy. I'm assuming you're talking about my twin flames, the magnets. I can't get quite close. I try. All right, so now I'm going to get my screen ready to share with you all. So we can look at these here cards. Hopefully this works. I hope. Let's see. Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. There is comfort in when knowing like, oh, the algorithms haven't clutched this and I haven't said something that's just totally off kilter. I mean, there are some amazing content creators, amazing readers who do this type of work, and they rightfully have tons of views, rightfully so. But then I watch some who, in my opinion, they are not rightfully the ones to be getting the views. And then they're ignoring their social responsibility. They're spouting off dangerous information. And then their subscribers and followers are now doxing people, contacting people based on what someone said in a spirit box session or a reading. And it's like, we gotta do better. I agree. Thank you. I'm gonna leave that up for a moment. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. Why can I share? I don't want to stop the cam. Present. They've changed it. I haven't been on here in a minute. I'm like, what? What do you mean present? All right. And I want to do it like that, where you can see me kind of, sort of. Okay. Oh, this case has hit me hard. You want to know about spirit boxes? We'll have to talk about that in a moment. I mean, it actually is quite fascinating, just so you know. It is quite fascinating where you probably just go ahead and not Google, but search in YouTube spirit box session and pick a case. You could pick this case and you're going to see it's like this radio and it's like sounds like they're playing like when you take the radio station, for those of us who remembers radios, where that you take the little knob and you go backwards over maybe an AM station and it's like makes all these noises. And then if you slowed it down, you could almost hear spirit talking through and answering things. And so some people are actually picking up on frequencies that are speaking to a situation, and other times they too are picking up on the speculation, the noise, the innuendo, the gossip. So you gotta be discerning about what you're watching and where you're getting your information from. Yeah, it's interesting. Don't get me wrong, it's interesting, but I don't know, y'all. I don't know. Some of the ones who are, I'm like, again, you may not be a good steward of the spirit box if this is how you're going to handle the information. So this is the gentleman, Brian Kohlberger, BK. This is the gentleman that they have arrested. As you can see here, he has on his little turtle suit to prevent him from doing something that, we don't want him to do. We want him to be brought to justice and we want him to have his day in court. Now, when I did the reading early on and something intuitively said, record this reading that you just did, because sometimes I do these readings and I don't ever publish them to the channel. I just do it for my own interest. And I thought I was going to be doing that for this case. I don't like to normally do multi-victim readings. It's a lot of moving parts and energy, and it's really kind of hard to hone in on what I'm picking up on, even just for one person who might be involved. So I try to steer away from multi-victim cases for the channel. It's not to say I won't do them, but I steer clear. But then some said, no, delve into this case a bit further. And so what came up for me was the Page of Pentacles and the Seven of Pentacles. And this gentleman in the Pentacles and in the, for both Pentacles cards has dark hair, a slightly crooked nose, and is probably a student of a university, is what I kept feeling and picking up on, or live near there, or very much a part of that environment is what I kept picking up on. Yeah. Thank you, Heather. Thank you. I don't know. See, and I don't know the spirit box situation. Like, I don't want to talk bad about it. I just know I've heard it, and you don't know. Sometimes they'll be like, oh, I'm talking to so and so. And it's not even somebody related to the case. And then it's not even their ancestors. I'm like, well, who are you talking to? Are you sure you're talking to who you think you're talking to? I don't know. I don't know. It's fascinating. Yeah, that's him. that's him. That's Brian. Yeah, you can. And you can actually refine it. And there's some people who are really, really, really good at spirit box sessions. And I've listened to them from time to time. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And sometimes the audience will pick up and hear things, or maybe it's their own channels coming through. It's just really fascinating. I try not to be scared of these things. I try to keep an open, curious mind, but you do have to be aware, like, and know what information that you're picking up on, and to discern what you're picking up on. That's the problem that I've seen with one particular lady I know who does spirit box sessions. She's really popular. She's huge, but she'll be seeing off stuff, and I'm like, I don't know. You might have wanted to sit on that for a minute before you spouting that. You, my friend, are about to catch a defamation case. No. um, I remember we talked about his privilege too. Yes, we did. We did, Krista. We talked about his privilege. We see that with the Seven of Pentacles, and oh God, we did talk about that in one of my premieres. Now, one of my subscribers had, as many of us all felt, was like, no, she told me, she said, you have the hair color wrong. And the hair color is not black, it's red. And I knew what she was getting at. She was getting at one of the boyfriends of one of the victims, the Kaylee's boyfriend. A lot of people strongly felt that he had something to do with it, but I just was getting a weak vibe on that. I couldn't shake it. I was like, I don't know. Spirit told me that this actually kind of looks like the dude who did it. I remember saying it just as clear as day in the reading when I recorded one of these earlier readings. And I was like, I'm going to say this and probably eat my words later. He puts me into the mind of someone I've seen, someone known to the public. Yeah, and some people were saying over the weekend that he reminds them of certain actors. There's this Netflix show. I think is it called You? I think it's called You. It freaked me out. I didn't like it. I watched like one season of it, and I was like, this ain't it. I can't do it. It's too creepy for me. And it takes a lot to be creepy for me. I love creep factor in series and television and stuff, in movies and stuff. But there's other actors that people were saying that he reminds them of. I hope we get a motive, because here's the thing about Mr. Brian. Let's talk about Mr. Brian for a moment. Mr. Brian, my goodness, he is a student, a PhD student at Washington State University, which is actually only like a 15-minute drive to the University of Idaho, to Moscow, where this crime took place. And he's a PhD student in criminology. He had his undergrad. I want to say, I made hella notes too, by the way. Look at all these notes, y'all. Every time I saw a news program, I'm like, oh, let me make a note. Like I'm a criminologist. He studied, I think his undergrad I had it written down. It's too many notes to look at. But criminal justice, psychology, and his PhD, the program he just started recently, is in criminology. So he's definitely a student, and they probably cross paths, him or one or more of the victims, because they are literally only 8 or 9 miles away from one another. It's really trippy. It really is trippy. And I remember saying, no, I feel like he's a student. And I feel like Auntie Krista said, or Auntie Kay, I know it's Krista. Um, there's a certain level of privilege that he moved through and had, and he also prides himself on being hella intelligent. A lot of people who knew him said he's super intelligent, but some people are saying he's one of those people that likes to argue with you, and just to show his superiority in arguments. You know, the type, they just gonna argue for the sake of arguing, just so they could prove that they really know it all, when really it's like, you don't know that much more than me. Yeah, you getting your PhD, but the way you act in here, you have very low emotional intelligence here. So that's just me. Yeah, I want the motive as well. And so that reminds me. Let me see here, because we're going to talk about the motive in a moment. The very first reading I did on this case was, I think I titled the video "The Mind and the Motive of the Suspect," or something to that effect. I can't remember the exact title, but I have a playlist for this case on my channel, the Idaho 4 case. So sometimes I'll make its own playlist for certain cases, like Heidi Plank. I did this case, and there might be another one. I made their own little playlist. Authorities narrowed their focus to Idaho suspect after tracing ownership of white car in DNA. Do y'all know? And I did DNA. I did Ancestry.com. But they found him because he didn't have his DNA like in CODIS, like where you could, like, he did a crime before and they found him. It was through genealogical DNA, meaning maybe one of his family members, close family members, did the little DNA test. And that's how they kind of connected the dots to him. I'm like, well, I'll never be committing any crimes. I wouldn't be anyway, but really, for real, I will not be. What was trippy about this, I wanted to share with you all, was about the vehicle, the white car, but there was something else. And his behind left the area where this crime took place. Christmas time, like December 16th or so or whatever, he had his dad fly out from the Poconos, Pennsylvania, fly out to Washington, and so they could drive the car back, the Hyundai Elantra. And if y'all ever own a Hyundai Elantra, you know you don't want to be putting all the miles on the car. So you know it was serious for him to be trying to drive that car. They don't make it very far. I've owned 2 Elantras. I digress. So his dad drives back with the car across country. So his dad flies from Pennsylvania to Washington State. Him and Brian drive back to Pennsylvania. I imagine he was probably going to try to sell the vehicle because it was hot on the streets over on the west side of the country. Like, where's the white Hyundai Elantra between the years 2011 and 2013, blah, blah, blah. So, wow. Yeah, his daddy flying out. Like, I wonder what his parents really know. In the readings I did pick up on, they probably had some suspicions, but you probably are in denial. You probably are in denial about what your child could or could not do. And yeah, but there's rumors that, and it's from a source, law enforcement source that remains anonymous, that FBI was following him, and they followed him into a grocery store, and he was wearing gloves in the grocery store. So he was acting real sketch and real like careful. Not too careful because he got caught, but careful. He was acting sketch though. I wore gloves during the pandemic, like when I was at the airport, because I didn't want to have to always constantly be washing my hands, and you don't know what you're going to pick up. But we now post pandemic, and they probably stood out a lot. You got you over there picking up a box or something with gloves on. I don't know. Yeah. Now, what did I want to show you? This is a very rural area where his family lives. They live in a gated community in the Poconos area, and it's very picturesque, beautiful. When I drop down to do screenshots, it's like really like woodsy. It looks like you would want to live there, really, you know. But oops, I want to go back. I want to go back. So before I go on, because we're going to look at some of these cards that came up. Let's see where I'm at. I did do a reading on it. This was the reading that I did very much the first time. I think I call it the mind and the motive of this person who did this. I can't remember exactly the name of the video, but what I'll do after we're done is I'll link the playlist and all the videos that I did on this case. It's like 5 videos, but the very first one is this one that I'm showing you here. And just make sure I don't have all the comments get away from me. Yeah, he crazy. And you all, so there's this big question mark on who may have been, was the house targeted? Was the a specific victim targeted? Was it multiple victims targeted? And there's all this different speculation. In my readings, some of you who watched, you know that for my readings, Kaylee was the one who was targeted. Okay. There's still a big question mark. And in this news of her sustaining very kind of injuries that are like, oh my God, they literally send chills through my body, even right now, that she had the worst of the wounds. You know, even before that news came out, my readings has indicated it was her that was the target. But there's still a lot of people saying, no, it's not her. I don't believe it's her. But then her dad, just over the weekend, said that there is a connection. There is a connection between Kaylee and Brian. And I guess the family did an interview with a YouTuber. I think I forgot her name. Her first name, the YouTuber, is Olivia. But I can't think of the name of the channel, but it should be out on January 5th, is what I heard. And rumor has it, rumor alert, speculation station over here, that I like it. I like it also say it's speculatory territory. But rumor has it that she may have went on a date with him at one point. This is all rumor and speculation, so don't take this as the gospel. But that he has a habit of calling women female dogs, and told her to go on in there in the kitchen and make some quesadillas or something, because she comes from, Hispanic background. And I was like, and I guess there's waitresses that have come forward that served him recently, where when the women would turn down his advances, he would call them a female dog. I mean, he's a lot. I know what you mean. Like, those people who just want to argue you down all the time. It's like, not everything needs to be an argument. And you aren't, yes, you're intelligent. And I will always give people their props for intelligence. Always. I love a brilliant mind. I love it. Love it. Love it. But when you start to weaponize your little brilliant mind, then we have a problem. Yes. So American Psycho is what some people are thinking and speculating that he could be kind of like in love with, because he does have a Christian Bale look. And American Psycho comes to mind for me as well when I think about him. That movie also freaked me out. Like I said, very few things in this television movie world that freaks me out, but that was one that freaked me out as well. I didn't like that movie. I did not like it. With one of my kids being a land defender, we've all chosen not to do ancestry tests. Probably wise. I mean, I wanted so desperately to know about our family history because, as African Americans, as descendants of slavery, a lot of the information that we have is very disjointed and cut off. We don't really know our history. So I wanted it so badly to just get a glimpse into my past and my family's lineage. So I knew going in, I'm like, I think this might bite me in the butt, but maybe not. I'll probably go through this whole life being cool and not, you know, getting in trouble. But I don't know. There's rumor is not the same car. Oh, interesting. Could be not. We'll talk about the car in a moment too. Yeah, I also heard about the 2011 to 2013 um, speculation, but I heard also that the police didn't, they wanted to kind of throw him off and not scare him. They wanted to scare him a little bit but not scare him, so they said 2011 to 2013 when they knew it was a 2015. And yeah, that's what I heard. His daddy is rescuing him, and the family has come out. They did a public statement, a written statement over the weekend, supporting him, you know, saying that he's maintaining his innocence, so they gonna ride and die with him. They are supporting him. And his dad, it does sound like his dad is very much involved in protecting them. And it sounds like he's not going to be having a public defender when he gets back to Idaho. He has a public defender now dealing with the extradition process coming from Pennsylvania, Poconos. I've always wanted to visit the Poconos. I don't know why. I have my reasons, but I'm going to spare you all those details. But the Poconos back to Idaho. So he's got a public defender for that. But I don't know if he might have got a pro bono attorney, or he actually, somebody paid some big money to get him a little team. His little legal team is already ready to go. And I have a feeling, dude, Brian is going to take immense joy in this trial. And I feel bad for the family because he's not going to initially willingly accept responsibility. So this gonna be a wild ride. Get out. Oh, I know, right? Doesn't it? Yeah, the pic of the Poconos. Yeah, he reminds me of the movie Get Out. Just him, Brian's image, his vibe, his aura, his eyeballs. They did a side by side of him and the serial killer Ted Bundy, like side by side, and they look very similar to me, and they look equally creepy. Like, some people will be like, "Oh, he's kind of handsome." Not to me, not to me. And some folks definitely treat BBIPOC partners worse than their white partners. Yes, that's very true. Very true. And definitely psychopath energy. And to think that he is a student of criminology. Mm-hmm. Yeah, stupid people get me. Don't get me wrong. Stupid people get on my nerves too. Bless their little hearts as well. You know, the most of us are middle of the road, and I vibe with us the most. Yeah, and so yeah, you just it's a risk, but most of us are law-abiding citizens, and you are defenders of the land. Um, for those who have to do that work, which I find sacred and absolutely necessary, I wish that you don't have to even have to deal with the law, because you are actually upholding human law, which to me supersedes man law, if you know what I mean. But I don't know. I don't know. I end up getting my DNA taken, so your girl gonna have to be on her P's and Q's. I can't be doing extra. At the time, I didn't consider the potentially bad outcomes of testing. I knew about it because the Golden State Killer was. I think I took my test like right around the time that they found him in that way, and I was like, well, the curiosity of me needing to know about my family lineage just superseded it. So and I'm a true crime buff since I was like early teens. I've been reading lots of true crime books and um, stories about criminals for years. So, and I also love studying about forensics, and maybe in a different lifetime, I would have gone into that path and studied it further and made it a career path, but I didn't. But I knew that we were making big strides in advances with DNA, and it was just a matter of time that this is where we're going to get to. Thankfully, it will help to bring justice for some people who desperately need it, like these families, these 4 families who had their beautiful children taken away in such a violent and disgusting way. It makes me want to be in a room with him and just tear into him. You know what I mean? Just scratch his eyes out. Heart shaped beds. You know it. You know why I love That's why I wanted to go to the Poconos. That's it. So I'm not even from out there, but with my first partner, the father of my sons, we were like thinking, dreaming of like where will we go for our honeymoon? And I found like there was like this little advertisement, and they had like these like heart-shaped beds and like this jacuzzi that's shaped like a wine glass, and it's so cheesy. Now I would never necessarily want to go, but it had me curious about just the Poconos in general. And I was like, oh, that, the hotel or the motel or whatever it is just the plus. You caught me. Yes. And Soul Whisperer, Althea Grace, Auntie Kay is one of the Kofi members. My Kofi membership poised to leave. So when she gets a moment to join us, she hopefully would share with us, because it's actually fascinating to hear and to know. She could definitely share it in the comments section too if she like. My mom did murder inquests, and they were fascinating. True crime is creepy but insightful. So insightful. Oh, your mom. That's fascinating work. Oh, I'd be picking her brain. Okay, I'm not the only one who wanted to go to the Poconos for that spot. I wonder if it's still around. Heart-shaped beds, jacuzzi shaped like wine glasses or martini glass. I can't remember. It was like, oh my God. That's right. It is interesting. All right, so now I'm going to show you all these cards here, okay? So at the top is my Mildred Payne Secret Pocket Oracle Bloody Hell Edition. I think that's what it's called. And there's Volcano, Hag, Rat, Diamond at the top. So explosive, right? When you think in like an eruption. So this was rage erupted. Turns out Brian, the accused, the suspect, was bullied mercilessly. I can never pronounce that word properly. He was bullied, and oftentimes by women or young girls or women or teenage girls or whatever. And so I think he started to build a rage. You know how with volcanoes, you can't see, you just see a mountain. You don't know what's percolating underneath that mountain till it blows. And I sensed that that was what Spirit was trying to reveal to me. And interestingly enough, with the Hag card, I interpreted that card as nightmarish encounters, bizarre, malicious, nightmarish encounters. That's the guidebook meaning to that card. But when I started learning this weekend about him being bullied, he was overweight at one point. What is that noise? He was overweight at one point, and girls would tease him, guys would tease him. He was just constantly bullied. The hag card reminds me of that. The rat and the diamond card was interesting to me. He what is that noise? Is bothering the hell out of me. I'm sorry, you all. That noise. I'm very sensitive sometimes to noises, and that is killing me right now. Diamond, something of value. He wanted to be in. He is 28 years old. This guy, Brian, 28 years old. These kids are in their early 20s, barely 20, barely 21, and I sense that he may have ended up being in that house at one point or another, at one of their little rambunctious parties that they were known to have. It was the party house. And I'm thinking to myself, you're too old to still be trying to fit in. But if he was always trying to relive some certain part of his youth that he never got really to have. Plus, he allegedly had a 4 to 5 year addiction to heroin. There's a lot of stunted growth there. Not making excuses for this gentleman, but he had a disease. The rat card also is associated with disease. So, I mean, hold on. Let me see. I need to go back. So it's just interesting to me. Interesting. Yes. Bullied or rejected due to vibes like incel, very much like incel energy. I forgot one of the subscribers, maybe you, TK, we may have talked about a little bit of incel energy. Feeling very much that way to me. And it just angers me because these kids had their whole life ahead of them. You know, I don't know. So some of these cards, I hope you can see them okay. We have empty, brutality, grudge, aggression, numbness, accusations, cold, and antisocial. That all is summing up what has been coming out about this gentleman. What are they doing over there? What are they doing? And so, yeah, his birthday is November 21st. So I thought that was interesting. He has a fall birthday. The Pentacles for me represents the season of fall. If you see here, there's the Page of Pentacles, the Seven of Pentacles sitting next to the Queen of Cups. And I took that as he wanted something of value with the Diamond card and that Queen of Cups, and it was a fair-haired young woman. And then that meant to me that it probably wasn't Xana, who has dark hair. It was either Maddie or, oh, the dog hates the noise too. Okay, I'm not the only one. It was either Maddie or Kaylee. Because if you look at the Queen of Cups, she has fair colored hair. Yeah, so this was the reading of the mind and the motive reading. This was the first one I did, I'm pretty sure. And this is what came up. And I was like, antisocial. And they were saying, like, he lost some friends along the way. Friends have been coming out over the weekend talking about, like, he went from being bullied to being the bully, putting people in headlocks and just mean. And as a teacher's assistant under his PhD program before the crime, allegedly, he was giving really bad grades and bad feedback to the students. They were complaining about him. After the crimes, he was giving good grades. He was giving very complimentary, little notes of feedback. He also was coming to class all disheveled, growing a little 5 o'clock shadow, having coffee when he normally didn't, wearing gloves to the grocery store. He also was kind of I don't know, I don't know, really, really creepy. Those are some chilling energies, right? Not the kind of person you want to be in town with, let alone living nearby or being in close proximity. He creep. But some would argue that, he was bullied, so this is what we get. So, and we have that grudge card sitting next to brutality and empty. He has empty eyes. There's something empty behind them. And by the way, you all, he's saying he's innocent. He is saying he can't wait to get back to Idaho to declare his innocence and to be exonerated. So again, we just have to say he has not been convicted, but the things that have been coming out about him over the weekend, I don't know. Next up, I did the opening oracle reading. And I normally do my readings in this way, where I do an opening energy oracle reading. Then I do a more deep dive tarot and oracle reading after I've had a chance to write down questions that I glean from when I do the opening oracle reading. So I did things kind of backward this time. I did the mind and motive reading first. I don't normally do that reading. But because this was such a heinous crime and I just felt called to do it, I did it. So that one was first. And then I came back to do the opening oracle reading. So we have these cards. The diamond card came up again. The heart card came up. I heard that the injuries were so grave that there was a lot of damage, internal damage to these young babies' organs. So you see an anatomical heart here. Octopus was an interesting card. It's tied to high, and let me get the guidebook. It's tied to high intelligence as well as entanglement energy. But I found that interesting because he prides himself on being really a Mr. Smarty Pants. And if you are a PhD, you are a Mr. Smarty Pants. You're certainly a hard worker. And to overcome an addiction, you are, like such as heroin, you are a hard worker, no doubt. I'm not going to knock him on that. However, where is it? It's card number 44. Yes. Greed, entanglement, multitasking, and high intelligence. My little handy dandy makeshift guidebook. We have pentagram sitting underneath diamond. That's 37. Humanity, the sum of life, a lifetime of choices, material gain. Those two little cards, the two little females, it says today for tomorrow. I almost feel like the girls, Maddie and Kaylee probably were like close and like holding their hand. Like I have this vision in my mind of their last moments. And so that kind of popped in my mind. Triumph of lies. We about to hear all sorts of stuff in these court proceedings. And it's going to be interesting. I know some people are like wondering if there's an accomplice involved. I don't know. Some people are going to want to blame his parents, feeling like they should have known something, should have did something. I don't know. We'll see how that comes out. Fated to suffer. He caused them to suffer, but some would argue that Brian was fated to suffer himself. So again, antisocial down here came up, sabotage, regret, and greed. Suspect lives near the scene of the crime. He does. He actually lives on off-campus housing for PhD students at Washington State University. And that's again it's a very short drive into Moscow. And I don't know. There's allegedly he's been stalking them. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. A witness may not be fully disclosing all of the details or facts. This is my favorite card. Important details are not being revealed to the public at this time. A lot of people were like thinking that Moscow PD was like not up for the job, couldn't do it. I always believed, even when I did these readings, that just that they had a lot more information, that they were doing what they needed to do to get this case solved. I believe that. I never believe, oh, it's growing cold. I'm like, it's a little early for everybody to be saying it's growing cold. And they, at this point, have like 20,000 tips. So I didn't believe that. I believe that they were holding back a lot of information, as they should, because oh my gosh, on Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, 4chan, YouTube, TikTok, there's all these different theories and all these different people. So the police have to try to protect the integrity of the investigation. And the problem that they're going to face is trying to find an impartial jury for such a small little town. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. It says argument or fight is a strong factor. I I'm still pondering what that could mean, and how that will play out. Again, just a close up look at these cards. Yeah, hat, hat. Ah, self image or identity, a career choice or role one plays in life, a sign of respect. We all revere high intelligence, and we all, like, when you hear somebody has a doctorate, a PhD, like that weighs a lot. And I just feel like he did all of this for his self-image because his self-esteem was so tattered from his growing up. And maybe his family knew that, and that's why they are always running to his aid. Allegedly, his sisters, who are older than him, are in the mental health field. Imagine that. It's always the most privileged who think their life is too hard, so that's why they bully. They're a bully. Society's most dangerous. I agree. I have to agree with you on that. I have to agree with you on that. Like, sir, there are many of us who are bullied. Okay, there's many of us who've had to battle fighting addictions, and many of us who have had struggles in life and had a disadvantage. I guess his family, when he was a teenager, filed bankruptcy and had their car repoed. Again, it's almost kind of like Cry Me a River. Like, it's an American story. Like, a lot of people go through it. But I guess when you have a few screws loose, allegedly, well, maybe it was the straw that broke the camel's back. Word on the street is he's an extreme vegan as well, which is interesting to me. He's just a real special bird. I don't know. Yeah. His dad sounds like the accomplice in some ways. I just wonder, like, did they plan that trip? And I'm gonna show you some cards that came up that spoke about this situation. Did they plan the trip because it's the holidays? Like, how did Brian tell his dad, I need to bring the car back. I want to drive it. Just, I'm like, I'm such a nosy Nelly with my kids. I'm always asking hella questions. If they do something unusual or say something unusual, these are my adult children I'm talking about. Even my daughter, but she don't really give me like where I need to question her. But when they were teenagers and now adults, I'm like, let me ask some questions because that don't seem right. I'm like, I can't. I'm like, what did Brian's daddy say when he's like, I need you to fly out here, go clear across the country, and then drive back with me with this car, this Hyundai. I don't, it's an older Hyundai at that. I mean, it could break down. Like, what? I didn't understand that. And I'm curious to know what that was about. Mm-hmm. Oh, you do? Which part did I suggest? I forgot. I've been rambling. Yes. Okay. Yes. Yes. I just knew it. I felt like there are times I do these mystery mystic readings and I can tell that there's scant information that law enforcement has. In those situations, too, a clue would be is when they put out a reward for tips and, information to come in. I just knew, I'm like, they know something. They have something. I just could feel it in my bones. Yeah, it could be. she was like, I'm done. And they said, rumor, speculatory territory, that Kaylee, who has the connection to him, she started longing for her boyfriend, the guy that she broken up with, right? She started, like, God, I dated this weirdo, and now I could have been trying to make this work. This is allegedly. I'm curious to see what the family's going to say when they come out. They said they're not prepared yet to talk about it, but there's supposed to be an interview with the family on the 5th, is what I heard on Olivia's channel. I forgot Olivia. If I remember, I'll put their interview in the community tab if that comes to pass. But I once dated a guy. Uh, y'all remember Match.com? I think it was Match.com or Yahoo Personals. It might have been Yahoo Personals. Back when online dating really first kicked off. And I met a guy, and he was a California Highway Patrol officer. He was a police officer. And we went on a date. We were supposed to actually go out to dinner. And then he was like, and I was only 21 at the time. I was Kaylee's age. And Lord, he gave me the creeps instantly. We didn't go out to the restaurant. He ended up trying to take me to Taco Bell. But I was 21. I'm like, okay, fine. I like me some Taco Bell. I'll give me some Taco Bell. And then we end up going, he takes me back to his place. And I should have known better. And after I dated him, just for that one date, I got a little more street smart. But he took me to this remote little area in Sacramento that I didn't even know. It was like in the cuts. I'm like, I didn't even know this area existed here. And he started talking about his sister. Like he just adored her. And the way he was talking about her, almost like he had a relationship with her. And I'm thinking to myself, you passed the test. You cut the mustard on being a California Highway Patrol. You are freaking me out and you're giving me the creeps. And I remember he went off to the room somewhere, like in a different room of the house. I quietly gathered my purse and I booked it out of there and I left. And he ended up sending me a message through Yahoo Person. I was like, what happened? Where'd you go? I was like, oh, I don't think this is gonna work. This is not gonna work. I'm getting weird vibes. When your spider senses know, you just know. And I heard Kaylee had spider senses. Yep, lots more parental questions in the young adult stage. Absolutely. Like, I just can't imagine that y'all went through bankruptcy not too long ago. And then you want me to book a flight to go clear across the country to drive back with you. Why can't you catch the plane and come back? Or why can't you drive the car back? What the hell is going on? Why? Why? I don't know. I'm a little different. Yep. I'm assuming you're talking about the dates. House, trauma, karmic partner. You can barely see it here. And out of town. I had a feeling his little butt was going. Either I thought this card meant that he lived just out of town, and he did, because basically it's Washington State. If you look at the map, and Idaho, and their little town is like right close to the border. So technically he did live out of town. But I also got a sense his behind was going to leave out of town. Investigator, this is one of the cards that told me and assured me that they hot on his trail. Surveillance video, y'all. Videos. So this reading was like speaking clearly to me. In the computer, there's some evidence. Surveillance video capturing the car in the area shortly after the crimes occurred. Surveillance video of the Moscow police interrogating some little underage drinkers. And that's also where they had captured some video evidence. Then there was the surveillance video at the little A&W slash, I guess it's a gas station, them combo fast food slash gas station deals. So they had surveillance there. There was surveillance all over the place. So there's videos. And then when they got a warrant for, that's interesting. Sorry. They got a warrant for pulling all the evidence out of his apartment at the off-campus apartments. They got a big old computer system, so it's going to be interesting to see what was on his hard drive. But you know what they said on the news is that for like the last several months, wherever these young people were at, his cell phone pinged in the area that they were at. That freaked me out. That freaked me out. That was this weekend. All this is coming out. The sun, this says sun. And it almost looks like you're looking out of a plane window. But it says son, SON, lawyer. Do you see this lawyer card down here? And it's got all the little what do you call them? Oh, what do you call them? Cogs? I don't know which cogs, wheels. You know what I mean? They were like this. A lawyer. And that told me to either we're dealing with somebody who wants to be a lawyer, who is a lawyer, who's protected by a lawyer, who maybe his family is a lawyer, but this is somebody who's very much into law. And look at this. Buried. Buried came up a couple of times in the various readings I did, and I have a sense, and I'm thinking and a hunch that perhaps he may have buried the weapon. Then we have twins. Still trying to ponder what that could be, this twin energy. And then forest. His family lives in the Poconos. Maybe the knife is buried in a forest setting. I also got train tracks. Oh, and let me go back. Sorry. In the house, the party house. Trauma in the party house. Yeah. Buried came up again. 0 to 15 kilometers, which is the range in miles. It's like 8 or 9 miles from where the crime took place, where he lives and where he works. He works as a PhD student or a TA or whatever. So, and then we have autumn and stalker. Now, this is where people were also arguing with me. They're like, I don't think she was stalked or whatever. But Kaylee had mentioned on a couple of occasions that she was being stalked. Now, I don't know if she knew it was by him or not, but I thought maybe that's what this card was speaking to, was that, oh, you know how some females will say, oh, he's just stalking me. Oh, he's just a stalker. She's just a stalker. That kind of vibe. But I know what it's like to have been stalked before. So I can energetically feel, no, I think she means something a bit more than just a young people talk. We got female victim. There is no evidence of SA, but there on this card it has assault and non-consensual. Let me see what you all are saying. Oh, flashback, A&W, love their Ruby, right? I like their, if I remember correctly, their burgers. I went to one of those little A&W little gas station things before I moved out of the country, and I was like, oh, I like it. They have some little dessert too I got that I liked. Gears. Thank you. It was driving me crazy. I'm like, you know what I'm talking about. I'm like cog in a wheel. So that's not the same as gears. Oh, damn. That's also on point with his PhD. Exactly. And I was like, this kind of freaks me out. Yep, more of that. This is an inside joke. This is my sister, Jennifer. This is an inside joke. Yep, more of that childish sleep talk. I think she knew, poor girl. For sure. I think she knew. She seemed like a very smart and witty girl. They showed some body cam footage that one of the YouTubers had requested a FOIA and ordered it and got the body cam footage. And they show her, Kaylee, coming out, and because it was that house parties nonstop. The police had come out there sometimes 2 times in the same day. And the way she talked, the way she carried herself, I could just tell like she was, wise. And I'm just really sad that All that beautiful potential is snuffed out. I'm just disgusted, actually. Yep, good burgers too. That's what I thought I remembered about them. That is a flash. They had went away, A&W, at least on the West Coast, they had kind of disappeared. And then all of a sudden they made a resurgence and they were everywhere. But for a while, I thought they went bankrupt. I hadn't heard from them in a long time. Assault and non-consensual speaks to rejection. You are correct. Thank you. You and I, we hear. Thank you. Intoxicated drinking, drunk, and alcohol. Now, this could speak to his addiction. He was addicted. They say some folks who have had a heavy heroin addiction for years, there's a certain level of emptiness that comes and that they actually aren't very like sexually turned on or what have you. So it is interesting to me. But I also think that he chose a prime time to go into that house when the young people's defenses were down. They had been partying earlier. They went to the bar. I think they may have smoked or smoked a little. They ate a really good meal from the grub truck. Some of the food that they were ordering there, I was like, I would totally eat that. They ate a really good meal, so they're tired, they're sleepy, right? Sleepy, tired. He picked the perfect time. And some people were like, well, Kaylee's not the target because she was going to move out. I think he knew that she was coming back to town and this was his golden opportunity. That's Saturday night going into Sunday morning. And that's how I feel. We have 15 to 35 kilometers. Still not quite sure what that means or speaks to. Really, it's only been about 7 weeks or so. We got the weeks card that speaks to the timing of how things are developing to getting to an arrest. Unknown to police, not in the system, clean record. The gentleman only had a seatbelt ticket. Brian only had a seatbelt ticket. So technically, he's not in the system. Okay. So that was interesting to me too. And I would imagine like when you are a PhD student, I don't think you could just be having like little criminal records and things. Don't you go on some sort of disciplinary actions if you have problems with the law? I would think so. I don't know for sure. I don't remember. But known to the victim. So there were some people speculating that this was like a complete SK serial killer situation, not known. I just felt like they knew of him, maybe been in the same little circle. And then we have guilty knowledge did the act. So whomever we setting our sights on, it's likely guilty, allegedly. Jealousy issues and personal. See that card down here? Jealousy issues are personal. I think he was jealous of these young people's lives. They're living their best life. Hell, if I was young, I would be at their house too, just partying and living it up. They party a little too much for me nowadays, but back when I was young, they're living their best life. Kaylee got her a 2016 Range Rover. Love that vehicle. He driving a 2015 Hyundai Elantra. No judgment. I was 20 years old and owned two Elantras, total one. The other one had three transmissions that fell under warranty. And the third one didn't fall under warranty. Like the warranty had expired. And I was like, I'm done with these cars. I'm done. So for me, when they were like, he's driving cross country, I would never be driving my car cross country. Elantra? No, no, no. A Range Rover? Yes. Maybe not during high gas price time, but not an Elantra. So you were trying to get that car out of there. You can't tell me nothing on that. Train tracks. So I started the other night looking at train tracks, seeing if I could find train tracks near the area for a potential possible place of where the knife might be. Male suspect and accomplice. Well, this gentleman has dark hair and there's an accomplice keyword on there. Doesn't necessarily mean there is an accomplice, but that does stick out to me. And finally, we have the justice card that came up, which is always solace for me. Yes. Yep, agreed on well time. Yeah. And a relief. The day before they announced that he got arrested and they busted into his house, at his parents' house in the Poconos at 3 a.m. That day before, I kept feeling like, can we hurry up and get some news? This is too much, and I can only imagine how his family feel, or not his. Well, now his family too, but the families of the victims. Like, oh my god, and the students who attend the University of Idaho, the professors, the people who live in that community. Like, can we get some answers? Hey, Joe. How are you doing? Welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining. I was thinking near the scene, although you do open the idea of the Poconos. What I did the other night at like 2 in the morning, I couldn't sleep. I started looking and I found train tracks that run along. I think I forgot the main little highway that connects the two towns, Moscow to Pullman, and there's train tracks right along there. I found them. They're kind of, when you're looking at Google Maps, you have to really dial in to really see train tracks because they look very faint. And then you can't, because it's a rural area, I can't just drop the little guy and make sure. So I had to struggle to find it, but I did find some train tracks. And I was just curious. I'm like, why is the train tracks card in here? What is that? All right. Oops. Oopsies. Suspect lives near the area or the scene of the crime. That came up again. Additional evidence at the scene may be discovered. FBI had went out like a second or third time, like a week before the arrest was happening. And I was like, oh, that's what that card is speaking to. It says there was a motive for committing the crime. Sometimes we hear of cases where it's like there's no motive, and then there's times when there is a motive. And so this is what this is speaking to, that there is some sort of motive. And I'm curious to hear what you all think is the motive. Drop a line in the chat or in the comments section. And of course, it's all alleged. I'm saying this to protect myself and my peeps who are discussing this. Details leading up to the murder may be worth investigating. So, there are important details that are important, and we're continuously finding out about them. His past history, um, who he is as a person, what he was doing before, during, and right just before the crime, and then like earlier, 2019, 2017, those years. So I thought that was interesting. It says here something observation. Oh, something about, I can't even see that. It's not very, it's fuzzy. The victim's living space may provide clues. So, um, the house is such, the way it's set up is like, it's really odd, and it was always peculiar to myself and to others. Like, there's two extra people who were in that house that were not hurt, but because of how that house was built, like kind of hodgepodge put together over the years to accommodate more and more students near the university, it's such that maybe it's disjointed, and they couldn't, that he may not have known that those two victims were there, or maybe he just was not interested, or maybe he had to fight off Ethan and Xana to get to the ones who he was trying to get to, Maddie and or Kaylee. I don't know, but the living space, and then all the partying. So there was like rumors that there was screams. There was one video that is an absolute debunked video. Somebody made a scream sound and made it sound like it was one of the girls, but it wasn't. But there is another legitimate body cam of the police who had who was just talking to the underage drinkers on the night of the crime near the house, and there's this tiny faint scream. But the thing is, neighbors have become so desensitized to the house having music all the time, girls screaming out like, you you become so used to it that it makes you understand why they didn't necessarily feel the need to call the police. Now, if you're in some like residential sleepy town where nothing happens, you hear a blood curdling scream, you're probably going to call the police. But if you're in an area where it's party time all the time and you can't distinguish, you just assume that the girls are just having a really extra wild night. I don't know. Cell phone records may provide important clues. Those them pings on your cell phone. We don't need to go too much into that, but there could be also text messages if there is a real connection between Kaylee and dude. Just like if, thank God, nothing happened with me and the weirdo that I went on a date with when I was 21, they would see my Yahoo personal on my desktop, it wasn't a laptop, it was a desktop. And they, would see messages, right? It says this case will remain unsolved until key evidence is discovered. Well, key evidence has been discovered. Interestingly enough, this card, the killer has a history of committing crimes. And people are trying to discern if he has a history of doing things that just was never caught. He was just never caught. And it'll be interesting to see what comes out. Was this his first go round of doing something, or has he been doing stuff all along and this is now him just getting caught? We don't know. You know what else is weird about him is, let me just say this card and I'm going to say what's weird about him. It says, in the future, the perp may admit guilt. I think that once the evidence is stacked and maybe even a conviction occurs, he's going to be like the other like serial killers who are all like not writing books, but doing interviews and like spouting off what's on, what's the inner workings of their mind and how, so I could see that happening here. But this fool, a few months ago, I guess it was a few months, like 6 months ago, he was on Reddit and like on the university website because he's a PhD student, and he was surveying like ex-cons or people who had committed crimes, specifically people who have victims as like part of their crime, and asking questions like, how did you know this was your victim? What did you do? I'm just paraphrasing. I don't know exactly verbatim. How did you know this, was the victim for you? How did you get away with it? Did you get away with it? Trying to get into the mental and emotional state of this ex-con. And he was surveying people and inviting people to give feedback, and it could be anonymous. And I'm like, this is so wild. You literally cannot make this stuff up. It is like, you cannot make it up. It's like the makings of a scary movie. Fascinating. I wonder if buried weapon will be near the train tracks. That's what I was wondering too. So of course I'm not going to be calling in a tip like, hey, police. I'm just going to trust that in the universe, it'll be found. I can't see me calling in a tip like, I need you to check the train tracks over there by blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I don't know. I'm feeling the motive is rejection. Yeah. And for me with that motive, it's years upon years of rejection. He couldn't do nothing right? Like he just tried to be himself when he was a kid and he was bullied for it. Then he starts bullying other people and he's rejected. Then he starts being kind of mean and kind of like nasty to his friends and he's rejected. The female is probably not really feeling him at all. Rejection. The only thing where he felt superior, is two areas. His university studies, and perhaps when he's doing such a crime like this to see if he could get away with it, allegedly. That jealous card and what Auntie Kay said about rejection and being rebuffed could be motive enough for me. And I agree. Yeah, as a criminologist, I bet he'd been planning it weeks prior. I do too. Oh, that's gonna take me to another card I have to show y'all. Trippy stuff here. I've lived in those kinds of places. It is possible that protected them and cut them off from hearing cluing in. Yep. And if you're in those kind of houses where they're almost put together, it's almost like two houses and one, you may not hear everything that's going on. Or you may hear stuff and maybe even their little intuition is like the roommates who survived, the survivors, they're calling them. They may have heard stuff, but and their little intuition saying, "Don't go up there, not tonight. Just see what's going on in the morning." And so it was probably like that. And maybe they locked their doors. They're like, "Doop, let me lock up." And they're saying one of the girls screamed, and that scared him off to run away and hop into his car and flee, and that could have saved the survivor's life. Sounds like a history of being an abusive partner and getting away with that. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is like that. You may not have also did any time for it, but you're still committing some level of you're still doing some crime here against another human being. Ooh, yes. That was another creepy movie. It was another creepy movie, Silence of the Lambs. He might have also just wanted to see if he could get away with it. That's what I was thinking too. Like he thinks he's so damn smart. I can get away with it. Well, bullying is awful. It's unacceptable too, and we have to do better to teach our children and to teach ourselves because I've seen some really mean adult bullies over time and hearing stories of people being bullied, and we have to do better. We have to do better. Now, does that warrant somebody doing what he did? No, but it helps us understand like how he got to be where he did. And he was overweight. There's pictures of when he was young. Then I guess his sophomore to junior year of high school is what I heard. And then there's pictures to show it. That's when he started doing heroin. And then he comes back to school the following fall and he's like all gaunt and like skinny. And like there's some pictures he's frighteningly skinny. And so, it sounds like, his parents loved him enough, but there was also a lot going on where he was not accepted and he was bullied. But we don't murder. That's right. We don't. That's extreme. Raise your hand if you've ever had somebody kind of try to bully you. I have, like when I was in elementary, there were a couple of, and in junior high, there was a couple of times where somebody tried to bully me, you know, and I dealt with it in different ways. But, you know, it is just, I have that. And yes, later you will do it also. Yep. And you turn around and you become the bully, especially in his field. Then the internet discussions could speak to criminal history, like collecting it, or again, the way he treated women. And y'all. So there's all these stories coming out when he was traveling cross country, and also when he lived in Pennsylvania, that he would treat like the women servers like crap. Like, and there's even a lady, like I guess there was a restaurant owner who has a system in his cashier. I remember this too, where you could leave notes about a customer, and the women, he started noticing a trend of the women leaving comments about how he's kind of nasty and like always hitting on them and stuff, like, flirting, and not in a good way, not in a welcome way at all. And so they were leaving comments. And so the restaurant owner took him aside and was like, when the next time he came back to the restaurant and was like, we welcome you. We're so happy you're back, but can you turn that down? And he either pretended or he was just like, I don't know what you're talking about. But there was a time he called a woman waitress a bitch. And where I'm from, Oakland, you gonna get a bottle knocked upside your head. You're not gonna be calling me no ma'am. But You at work and you just trying to you provide a service to him, and then he's like hitting on you, and then you're like, I'm not interested, and you call her it's like, oh no, you got problems. Yeah, it's all congealed into this moment. Yep. Yes. So there's pictures of him where he's quite plump. He's plump. And I thought he looked better plump, to be honest with you. He's younger. Maybe he's middle school aged in that picture. I thought he looked better plump, though. Because the look when he came, like after he did his addiction, I don't know. And then he's an extreme vegan. So he just, I don't know. He's just all over the place. Yep. See, you raised your hand. You've been bullied. I've been bullied. Yep. In elementary. That's right. It's awful too. It makes you feel so small. And I get it. And I understand it from one human being to another. But my dude, yeah, why bullying then? Why bullying then? Not until I got married. I understand that as well. I can understand that, my friend. So yeah, mm, mm, mm. Just tragic all around. So this spread, I wish that they would find the murder weapon, and I wish we could learn a little bit more about him and his, if does he have an ideation with knives and such, because he does. He is from the Poconos, and that area looks quite rural, as is Idaho. It's also quite rural, and there's people probably who have all sorts of like fancy knives. So I'm just curious, why did he allegedly pick that knife, and where is it, and do you have other knives like this? Because what came up in the reading to me with this Nine of Swords is this collection of knives. We also got strong. I went too far. He's strong. He is 6 foot, 100, according to his license, 185 pounds. And he might be a little bit more, a little bit less. But black hair kept coming up. Dark hair, dark hair, dark hair. You'll see it in a minute. Vehicle. Vehicle kept coming up. If you look underneath here, there's the Knight of Coins or Knight of Pentacles underneath this vehicle card. And I remember when I did this reading, and in the reading, I was like, the vehicle, there's something about a vehicle that's really important to the case. I thought it was going to be something that looked unique, not a Hyundai Elantra. But we got the Three of Cups. Now look down here below here. This card, you can't see the keyword. It says cafe, university, and airplane. The airplane card to me spoke to a potential flight risk, a potential of leaving the area and leaving the country. But I had no clue it was going to mean that his daddy flying out from Pennsylvania to, Idaho. I'm like, my God, you getting your family. And so, when he was arrested, they said that the only thing he said at the time or asked was anybody else arrested. So that's what had people buzzing and wondering, is there an accomplice? Is there someone else? But I started thinking, I'm like, is he asking about his parents? Because they could have unwittingly, or maybe at times wittingly, allegedly been involved. You guys, oh. But the university card in the cafe, I could just see him sometimes going to the girls' place of work and just sitting in a corner somewhere. Oh, it creeps me out. And university. He works at a university. He studies. He's a PhD student. I kept thinking he was attending, though, the University of Idaho, not Washington State University. Up here, we have poison. Not quite sure what poison meant. Hired help, which can sometimes just simply mean he's going to hire a really good attorney, or it could mean someone else helped, etc. Green eyes. I don't think he has green eyes. I think he has brown eyes. But when I did the reading, I also mentioned that sometimes green eyes can mean like green eye bandit. jealousy. Dimples or cleft chin. He has a crooked nose. I don't recall seeing a cleft chin. I have a slight little cleft and a slight little dimple. I don't recall that on him, but he does have a really crooked nose. And some people were saying, "Oh, well, he got his crooked nose. Somebody punched him, during the commission of the crime." But he's always had that little crooked nose. He's always, if you see the pictures throughout his life, that's always been crooked. So something about his face. Ace of Wands and Father card. The Father card intrigued me, and I remember it intrigued me. Mental jail. Oh, and let me go back to Nine of Swords. The Nine of Swords also spoke to me that perhaps it could have been someone close to him that was either losing sleep about this situation or was about to lose sleep for several months from now. And I also thought it could be his parents. I did. Can't remember. We have brutality, manipulation, drunk, but the Father card stuck out. Can't remember what I asked here about these cards. A lot of mental jail. Mental jail can also indicate someone who can start having ideation of taking their life, harming themselves, but also just really stressed out. They said after the crimes, his fellow students in the PhD program said he was looking rough, 5 o'clock shadow, looking like he ain't slept in days, had coffee in his hand when he wasn't looking like that before the crime. So it was weighing on him. We see that with the 10 of Wands. Then that dark hair card came up again. And we got FBI, CIA. They were very much involved in this. Medium hair color, don't know. The Alive card here spoke to me about this case being active. Sometimes when this card comes up and if you're looking for a missing person, it can indicate that someone who is missing is alive, right? But in the case where we know what happened, this could also speak to this case is very active and alive. It's not a dead, cold case. Crime scene, and I bet you there's hair fibers, dark hair fibers from him. Now, over here, and I think I have it here, close up. This is where I tried to isolate who may have been a target. Any or all of them, one or two. If you can't see the cards close here, do I have it here? I could probably show you all. This card has a yes, no, or maybe. Can't see it, and I'm not looking at the screen enough to know if it's showing up. When I asked about each of the people, Kaylee is Ace of Cups, and it's a yes. It's an affirmative card. Even if I don't have a yes nor a maybe, I know that's an affirmative card. Then the rest of the cards are indicative of no. Maddie, I believe, is 7 of Pentacles. No. 10 of Swords. No, for Donna. And then 7 of Wands for Ethan. No. Then below here, additional cards, because y'all know I can't get enough of these murder mystery cards. It says victim or victim's family was familiar with the perp. And when Kaylee's father came out this weekend and says that he thinks that he knows of a connection between the two. And he was the one early on who said that she may have mentioned about a stalker situation before, but her mom and her sister and her mom and sister said, no, this will be news to me. And then there was the gentleman at the vape store, the manager at the vape store, who mentioned that Maddie said that my girl here, Kaylee, got a stalker situation. So, it says premeditated murder, killer planned out the details in advance. And contamination of DNA evidence may be influencing this case. And that is something that the defense may have up their sleeve when the time comes. And he may even try to say, well, I was at a party there. That's why my DNA is there. I'm like, I don't know. You're going, he's going to try it. Yeah, I definitely have fancy skinning and butchery knives. Wow. Oh. My husband loves to cook, so he has fancy knives. So we even travel. They probably thought we were crazy. We travel from the U.S. to the DR with our fancy knives in our suitcase, of course. But they probably see that all the time. The people at the airport, TSA or whatever. Um, but there's a use for them, of course. But I heard that this knife that was used was kind of unique to the military, a K-bar knife. I've been bullied in my younger years and it created a lot of anger, but then I grew up and I put that energy into positive action. Thank you, Myrna, for saying that and your vulnerability and sharing that. And it makes you angry. It makes you not want to be a bully. But like you said, you can channel that anger into something productive and loving. Elantra, slow moving vehicle, Knight of Coins. That's right. And it is. Oh my gosh. When I was having my transmission issues, I remember crying on the highway. Like it just wouldn't get out of a certain gear and it was only going like 50 miles per hour in a 65. And on that stretch of highway, people drive like 75 to 80 miles per hour. And I'm like, I'm going to get hit. I'm going to get hit. Oh, hazel can vary, which can vary. True. Hazel eyes can't. Yeah. True. Could be hazel. I had to look at, I didn't like looking at his picture too long. He's kind of freaky looking to me. I was in a chat and some lady, somebody said, "Oh, would you?" I think the content creator was like, "Oh, would you sleep with him? Would you be with him?" And most people were like, "No." And then there was this one lady who was like, "Oh yeah, I think he's kind of hot." I'm like, I can't even look at him too long to even see the color of his eyes. He might have hazel eyes. I don't know. We have to look. I'll look. I'll take a look. Oh, did we chat about the father card privilege and being helped out? We didn't really dive into it, but I'm going to go back. Here's the father card right there. It even has a handprint. Some people are already speculating that maybe his father unwittingly or wittingly, allegedly helped out. We don't know. And I don't want folks going knocking on their door or beating down their door or whatever. Allow the law to handle that. But I feel like he has been protected a good chunk of his life, perhaps by his father, coddled even, and being and having that privilege. I mean, he's also Brian, I think, is the baby of the family. My sister's the baby of the family. She's amazing. But he's the baby of the family. He was bullied. He has certain issues going on with him, making him probably more susceptible to something like this being born. I traveled with my good knives here too from the USA. Absolutely travel, and we we had our heavy pots and pans, our good pots and pans. Travel with that. Our luggage was so freaking heavy. So some things you just can't really get here. I mean, you could order it, but it's going to cost an arm and a leg to ship. So if you're already flying somewhere, take that. We also brought hell of spices, and we were so glad. The spices lasted us like a year. We were so glad we did. So we brought our knives, our pots and pans. We even brought a cast iron skillet. Can you believe it? Oh my God. Very heavy. So I think we just only have a couple more slides. Um, Whistleblower coming for truth revealed. That also gave me some solace. Burn down, fire, and arson. Whenever this card comes up, this speaks to evidence being destroyed to me, unless it's an actual house burning down. But usually it means that this person thinks he's so dang smart. I'm going to destroy evidence. We have theft, thief, and rubber. I feel like he may have taken something from the victims, a souvenir. Again, the jealousy issues personal card came up. Planned. Large group is interesting to me. I'm not quite sure what that speaks to. Will come? We'll see how that comes to pass. September is of importance. Pickup truck days, maybe leading up to. There's critical evidence happening the days leading up to the crime or the days immediately following the crime. New identity, don't want to be found, fresh start, new life. Somebody headed back to the Poconos. The S word, someone perhaps, and then when they said he had the turtle little suit on, I wasn't surprised because, yeah. And he might need to stay in his little turtle suit because it's going to probably be staggering the evidence that the people of Idaho have against him. And so, yeah. Again, we have intoxicated, drinking, drunk, alcohol, June and August. I wanted to, and then travel. Travel is, you can barely see that keyword here. It says travel. I wanted to talk about August though. So I think Kaylee and Maddie, and I don't know about the other roommates, but I think they all kind of moved into the party house in August, is what I heard. He moved into the campus housing and came to Idaho in August as well. So it was like the perfect storm of him coming to Idaho in August, being in close proximity to them. They moved into the party house in August. And September, I'm not quite sure what have happened, but I might have made notes. It's too many to count. If something comes up or comes to me, I'll mention it in the community tab. I'm still taking a break off of Mystery Mystic using readings and Monday readings. I'll be back probably January 30th with the new one. I might be covering some cold cases as well. New cases, as you can see, they draw you in. And I'm a naturally curious person, so I can't help but to be drawn in. And I'm an empath, so I feel everything. And so it can be very daunting to do new, fresh cases. So I may ease back into doing those Mystery Mystic readings with a cold case. Not that those are any much easier, but because you don't have the energy of the rumor mill and the people and the constant attention on the case happening also, it makes it a little easier to do. Vehicle came up again. Then we had another from a different deck, evidence card, fire. It says fire here. You can't see it. That came up. So I knew a vehicle situation was important. Lawyer came up again. House came up again. Dark hair color again in a separate reading. News media. This thing has blown up. You almost can't. I'm always surprised when I talk to people about this case and they don't know about it. I'm like, how do you not know? It's everywhere. But it's everywhere because I'm keenly following it. He had dipped out for a moment. And it's interesting, this missing person card sitting next to the police card. So remember when the police were like, we really want to get a hold of the person who's driving the Hyundai Elantra because we feel like he or she or they have vital information and they're missing. We don't know where they are. And so then that started off a flurry of like questions. Where is this person? Did he leave the area? So that's what that card speaks to me. Human trafficking is this card sitting next to the police card. And again, that's not necessarily about it. I mean, it can denote some level of human trafficking in the case. That remains to be seen. I don't know. But it can just also simply mean that a human being is moving from one place to the other for the benefit of another human being. So it can mean something to that effect. Chalice, key, and ear. And this reading is tied to the roommates reading. So a couple of my subscribers asked me to see if the roommates may have been involved or may have heard something or may have known something. When it was all said and done, I felt like the roommates didn't really have involvement. They may have heard something with this ear card. They may have may have even heard things and rumblings about something happening, but I didn't feel like they were involved. We got gossip, accusations, explosive, disrespectful. His behind is so disrespectful. Lustful, temptation, addictions, and aggression. So even though we were asking about the roommates, some of the same cards kept coming through over and over and over again. For my readings that I do for clients, even non mystery mystic readings, the readings that I do for clients, um, if they ask me the same question, like a week from now, 2 weeks from now, the same cards will come. That is part of like how spirit kind of affirms things to me about a situation. It says surveillance may provide, I think, important clues. Oh my goodness. The killer may have taken a belonging from the victim. And I believe that. Hence, so he's got 4 counts of first degree murder on him. That's what he'll be facing. And I guess a first count of felony burglary. No, I don't think, I mean, I think with burglary, you don't necessarily have to have taken something. You just have to enter. But I think there's a separate charge for that. Like breaking and entering. Burglary implies that somebody took something, but I could be wrong. Listen to this. Killer is a predator who tracks, I can't read the words, something kind of type of victim, maybe a particular type of victim. And so I remember also at the end, I asked, did the roommates really have anything to do with it? And we got divine masculine and then bounty hunter, these 2 cards over here. The 2 roommates are 2 females. Divine masculine affirmed for me, we're dealing with the man, and we are dealing with somebody who is having the police hot on his trail. And these gorgeous, gorgeous souls. Their sweet faces. It breaks my heart. I get goosebumps every time I see their images. I think about them. It makes me angry for them and their families. My heart goes out to their families. This is just unimaginable. Just unimaginable. And if, I hope they have found the right guy. To me, there's a lot of clues here that indicate that the police got their guy. But, again, everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Yeah. So, yeah, let me go up here. Yeah. In Europe, you cannot get on the plane with knives. And that's understandable. I was surprised they let us bring a lot of the stuff we did. I mean, we had like, I don't know, 200 pounds, 300 pounds of stuff. It was just ridiculous. We had so much stuff. But in America, and we were flying international, they let us. But it was because it was not checked on, or it was checked luggage. It wasn't carry-on, I guess. I think can you travel with guns? I don't know. I don't know. I don't have a gun, so I don't know. But I wonder, because if you have very expensive, like an expensive gun collection and you're traveling, I don't know how it works, but I know they let us take our little kitchen knives. So on the pots and pans and spices. Yes, yes, yes. I'm so glad we did that. When I go back to the States to visit my family, I will be hitting up my favorite little spots to getting all my favorite little Indian spices. And we love like Indian curry. So I do. That's right. Ain't nothing like a cast iron skillet. And we brought it. We used to have a Dutch oven that's cast iron, but we gave it to my husband's mom because we knew she would use it. And it was way too heavy to be bringing in the luggage. The skillet was already enough. They were like, I would feel so bad when the people would get ready to grab our luggage, at the airport. And I'm like, oh God, but I'm like, we need them. Oh, and uni students have their biggest parties end of August before classes start meeting folks. That's right. And I don't know how many of the ladies were in the sorority. There was rumor going back and forth on whether or not Kaylee and Maddie were still actually in the sororities. But I know the roommates, I believe, were in the sororities, the survivors. And then I believe Xana. And then in the fraternity, Ethan was in a fraternity as well. So it's a party atmosphere in August. And they getting their little party on, is from what I could tell. Those relative cards really pop. Yeah. Yeah. Repetitive. Those you said relative cards. I thought you were talking about the daddy and the son. I'm like, yeah, they pop. They popping all right. Repetitive. Yes, they just keep popping up over and over again. And so I think a takeaway from this whole reading experience for me is that I don't necessarily need to keep asking the questions. I mean, we could ask, the next question would be, well, what's going to happen with this case? Like, are we going to see a conviction? How long is this going to go? Now we're moving into a different phase for the readings, right? We're not asking so much who did it, but we kind of want to delve a little. I think we understand too. I think we have an understanding of why he did it, but I don't necessarily constantly need to do several readings. I see a lot of folks who do 10, 20, 30 readings on a particular case. And I'm like, I start to get exhausted from it after the fifth reading, the fourth reading, even sometimes the third, because Spirit reveals the same repetitive cards over and over and over. And I could just go back and look like we're doing now, you know? Oh, damn, the tracking and the internet stuff. For sure. I pray they got him too. Oh my God, you guys. I feel confident with that. I feel like they do, but you never know. So what do you all think? How you feeling after all this? I decided to go on a journey with you all to give you an update as to what's been going on and to vent. I did that early in this conversation, to vent about people who are doxing and straight up accusing people who have probably nothing at all to do with this and ruining people's good names, all that. I had to vent a little bit. But yeah, his aunts, they interviewed and then they remained anonymous. An aunt by marriage and I think an aunt by blood basically said they aren't really surprised that they heard that he is charged with this because he had some quirky behaviors, and his family, his immediate family, is a little odd, is I think the word they use. I could be mistaken. But when he was going through his super vegan phase, I guess he's still a vegan, I'm not sure. But when he would go to like family dinners, his aunt recalls that he insisted that she and her husband buy new pots to prepare his meal because he can't have meat or have any remnants of meat in his pots, that touches his food. I'm like, and you ain't eating over here. No, I'm just kidding. I'm like, you better bring your own dish. He's something else. Yeah. I think that's it. Yeah. Yeah, it's just really, really wild. So yeah. There you have it, my friends. I just really appreciate you all joining me today on this Monday. I know this was rather long. I wasn't intending it to be so long, but God, there's been nothing but breaking news on this case like every other hour, not even every hour. It's like, it feels like every hour on the hour. There's breaking news about him, why he did it, who he did, like who knew him now or who knows him now, who knew him back when. It's just mind blowing. And wow, I don't know. If I do a reading, it may not be till next month. And we're going to see how things play out and see. I could even look back at the cards and see if we can pull out for timing of when a major development is going to happen. I often like to, before I do a whole new reading on a question about a case that we've already covered in a reading, I like to go back and see if the answers are already there. It saves me time on doing a whole new reading. And oftentimes you don't need to just keep on beating a dead horse, so to speak. Yay, you got to meet my sister. I love you. I'm glad you joined me today. Yeah, Spirit would definitely be like that. Look, I told you, and I'm not going to tell you again, and you're going to get the same cards. Okay, you're going to get the same cards over and over, even if you ask it this way. Well, what if I asked this way? What if I asked it this way? Nope, still the same answer. Still the same answer. Yep, we'll see all of you lovely peoples around. And privilege on steroids, for real, for real, for real. Can you believe that? Yeah, cook your own meal, your own vegan dish, and bring it over. You don't just impose. And I think she did. I think they said she did buy the pots. That was been my next question. Did you buy them pots? I wouldn't have. Or I'd be like, here's the bill. I'm not buying no darn new pots. You need to cook your own meal. All right, my friends, much love to each and every one of you. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. It is the year of the chariot, and I already feel the chariot energy in the air. And I thank you so much for joining me today. And if you're watching the replay, thank you for watching it. Don't forget to leave a comment. Also, do me a favor on your way out. Please hit the like. It does help me. And if you haven't already done so, you know what I'm going to ask. Please subscribe. Please join the Abundant Life Tarot family. Thank you. Thank you. We could leave it on this. Privilege on steroids, child. Just privilege on steroids. Yep, privilege on steroids. Mwah. Take care. Bye for now.